All right, so this is a really fundamental feature of the MPC, but since I've seen some confusion recently and actually a lot in the past regarding this function, I thought I'd cover it. So it's the difference between using your sample edit chop function within your sample edit to export to a new drum program to use your chops that way versus what mute groups do. So let's take a look. All right, so say you got your sample chops ready within the sample edit screen, right? And you want to go to Shift, convert. You convert it to a new drum program using slices. So go ahead and do it. So going out to this and then to the main screen, selecting my new drum program that I just created out of those sample chops. Effectively how it works and how we want it to work is that each pad chops the other off, so we can create a new sequence out of those chops, right? So the way that it's set up by default, if you go to Program Edit and your Master tab, if you look at polyphony, it's set to mono. So what polyphony determines is how many notes can be played within that program. So after it reaches that limit, the notes start to cut off. So mono means one, so only one note can be played, and then when another one is played, it'll cut off the other. So this works effectively like mute groups do, like a choke function would, but it's not exactly the same thing. So I'm gonna recreate something that I saw in the comments. Someone was having trouble. They were chopping their sample, and then when they added drums, then the drums would chop out the sample and it would just be a mess, right? I'll just program some chops in real quick. So, and I'm gonna go ahead and load up some drums and put it on bank B of that same program. So that there, let's go ahead. So now I got my drums, got their chops right here, and now bank B trying to add in my drums. Doesn't work, right? Even my drum sounds are cutting each other off, because like I said, within polyphony, within the master section, set to mono, you can only have one note playing at a time. If I'm looking at changing this to, if you put it to poly, which is actually the default of a blank drum program, so if we go to blank one over here, it's actually set to 16, not poly, but 16 notes. Okay, so meaning you could play 16 pads all at once, and then after that on the 17th it would start cutting off. So I'll go back to my program with my samples, chops, my sample chops and my drums. So go into polyphony. So let's set to the default. It was like 16 that it's set to. So now, okay, so now I can play them. But as you see, since I turned it off from mono to 16 polyphony, my sample chops aren't chopping each other off. So if I go over to LFO modulation, my mute group is up here. I'm gonna go to bank A. I got my chops, and I could select Shift and select all the pads. Stop that real quick. So now all the pads are selected, and I can go to mute group, select one. Now it'll go back to chopping each other off. Now if I go to bank pad B, so if I want to add some drums, I can do that now. There you go. That was simply for a demonstration purpose. Like ideally, when I create, if I'm going to use the sample edit chop export to new drum program function, I'm going to create a whole new drum program for my drum samples. rather than trying to put them on the same program, because then you end up with that. Just did that just to illustrate the difference between the way a sample chop drum program is created versus the way mute groups work. So it's not necessarily using the mute group feature, or some might know it as choke group if you're coming from like a different type of hardware sampler. So there you go. Yeah, appreciate everybody. Until next time, stay humble, lift noise. Glory be to God. God bless.